first item type that we'll talk about is the dress shirt. We'll show you how to create one and go through the builder here. So we click dress shirt, click create new dress shirt, enter the name. It can be anything you want. The name of the shirt, I'm naming my shirt Tom because I'm not particularly creative right now. Hit enter, and it'll create the shirt and bring you to the builder page. The builder page is where we choose the design options for the item that you're creating. The first step will be to enter a fabric. You can type in the fabric here, and it'll display, if you have the full code, it'll display only the one you search. If you type in a partial code, it'll display anything containing those letters. So you hit please select, and it'll choose that fabric for you. You can navigate this page by clicking on the various menus across the top. You can either go in order by clicking next, or in any order you like by jumping ahead. For the purpose of this video, we'll go in order. So a consistent thing you'll see across all of the builders for each item is an advanced options menu and a main selection. For each piece of the item you're working on, your first step is to choose a main selection. You'll see the various options listed, as well as for some additional options if you scroll down or click the plus sign. Once you've selected your main choice, for example, we'll choose the cutaway collar, you can then click the advanced options if you'd like. Most of your clients probably won't go through each and every step like this in the advanced options. However, it's important to know where some of the options are should a client ask for something. So in the collar advanced options, for example, you'll see the number of buttons on the collar post is something you can configure. The collar stays, whether they're removable or sewn in or none at all. Stiffness of the collar, Oxford button, collar point length, collar front and back band length. So you can choose all of these within the advanced options, and this gives you an idea of what you might find in the advanced options within the builder. I suggest you kind of mess around with the studio and get a feel for what advanced options are where and how you can find things should a customer ask for them. Moving on to cuffs, once we've chosen our collar, we can see all of the cuffs are listed here. You can choose the one that you want with a small description at the bottom, or you can also choose short sleeves. For the regular cuffs, you can choose advanced options as well. The advanced options will appear at the bottom for this page, and you're really only choosing stiffness or the cuff width. This isn't the circumference, it's the, as seen in this photo here, the cuff width itself. Once you've chosen this, we can move on to the back of the shirt, where we see pleats and dart options, as well as some more unique cuts, such as a Western yoke or a split yoke and regular yoke. For the pocket, the first step is to choose whether or not you want one or two. Choose the number of pockets and then choose the shape. You can scroll to see all of the shape options available. Advanced options for pockets are just the sizes. Most of your orders, the best option is to choose proportional because it'll choose the size that's correct for the shirt based on the measurements. Placket lets you choose whether you have a placket, whether you don't have a placket, whether your placket is covered, or whether you have a pleated front. Advanced options for placket include button clusters, buttonhole orientation, distance between buttonholes, width of the placket, whether the left covers the right or the right covers the left. This is a difference between men's and women's shirts, for example, and darts in the front, as well as the orientation of the last buttonhole. Casual options are typically for sports shirts. You can choose different bottom treatments and different sportier options like a locker loop, sleeve holders, epaulettes, etc. Anything like this, all of these options have a small display of what it may look like. Not always a perfect idea, but it gives you, or not always a perfect rendition of it, but it gives you an idea of what you're selecting. Monogram. When it comes to the monograms, you can choose up to 12 of these options here by clicking the checkbox. When you click the checkbox, you're then required to enter the text, choose a font style, and choose a color for your monogram. So for me, do Tom, choose one of these fonts, and choose a color. If you don't complete all three of those steps, you won't be able to move on to the next or go back. You won't be able to leave this page. You can add additional monograms, like I said, by clicking the button here and then filling out, again, the 3 options. Contrast section is a little bit different. It's a little more involved. The first step is to enter the fabric code for the extra fabric you're going to be using. So click Add, and the fabric appears here on the left side. Once you see it appear here, you can move on to the next step, which is choosing the location of your contrast fabric. Let's say we want to make the entire collar inside and out with this pink gingham fabric. We choose the location by clicking on it. It'll highlight red. And then we click on the fabric. You'll know it's worked because the fabric number appears below the location that you've chosen. You can choose multiple locations. For example, if we don't want to do the complete collar, but we do want to do both the inside and the collar post, we choose the location first and then click the fabric. Moving on to the buttons and the thread section. The button section, you can either search for your button using the code or the visual by scrolling through the listed buttons and finding the one that you want, or you can type in your code. Some button books have codes that are not going to match up with the first listed codes here, however, they will have the same button. For these, you need to type in your code that is displayed in the book. For example, you'll see KS182 and 18A001 are the same button, but they have different codes. You can always search to find the one that matches what your button book says. For buttonholes and sewing thread, you can choose the contrasting thread colors. By default, or Tailor's Choice, which you'll see throughout the entire studio, Tailor's Choice will choose the closest thread color to the main fabric of the item. The reason that you might want to do this, or a reason you might want to choose the sewing thread colors or the buttonhole thread colors, is a multicolored shirt. We can't necessarily guarantee which fabric color the maker will try to match up to. So if you are strict about, for example, this shirt, which is red and blue, having red buttonholes, there's a good chance the maker will choose blue as the thread buttonhole color by default. So you may want to customize those. Some folks also may want to have a multicolored placket for whatever reason, just because that's their choice, and you can do that using the menu at the bottom here, and that'll change the thread colors of each one. Same goes for some of the more commonly used buttonhole locations. Sewing thread works the exact same way, shows you the locations of the sewing threads that will be changed, and has a drop-down menu for you to find your thread color. You can use this as a search, so if you wanted to find 1172, you can type that in there. The summary page of the shirt gives you an at-a-glance look at most of the design options that you've chosen. Another important thing about the summary page is in the top left here. When you create an item and enter the fabric number, it does a search or a fabric stock inquiry and updates the most recent fabric stock that we have from the mill of this fabric. Not all mills provide up-to-date fabric stock, but the ones that do, it will appear right here, and you can see when the most recent update was made to this stock. So this helps prevent back orders for the mills that do give us the information. When you're done with the order, you can either hit Next and Add to Cart, or you can click the cart itself. You can also entirely close out of this page, and the shirt will save to the cart that we created before. For this purpose, we'll click the cart button. And you see now the shirt has appeared in the cart.